One very impactful moment in Hollow Knight's story is the Hollow Knight looking back on the knight as the knight is struggling to climb onto the top platform in the abyss, then deliberately turning away and leaving the knight to fall back down to the bottom. But the question is, why did the Hollow Knight do that? Clearly they noticed that the knight was having trouble, so what exactly made them not intervene? I'll be discussing my speculations in this video. Before the Hollow Knight looks back on their sibling, the Pale King is seen walking out of the Abyss door. He likely remained just out of view on the other side of the Abyss door until the Hollow Knight followed him out of it. He may have noticed that the Hollow Knight was looking back, even if he didn't see exactly what they were looking at and told them not to do so. These words would not be shown as dialogue because the scene takes place from the knight's perspective, and the most important thing to them in that moment is their sibling who notices what's happening to them and could choose to assist them. On the other hand, the Pale King may not have said anything and just given the Hollow Knight a stern look that they could see in their peripheral vision as they looked back on the knight. It's also possible that the Pale King did not see the Hollow Knight look back, or he just didn't tell them to leave. The Hollow Knight may have just figured that they were making a logical decision by following their father who was taking them out of the abyss, rather than assisting another vessel of the many who had failed to reach the top. They may have even thought that helping the knight would somehow put them at risk of falling back down themselves. Maybe they didn't think that they alone would be strong enough to pull up another vessel who was just as big as they were, and they didn't think that the Pale King would help them do it. Or they could have just wanted to get out of the abyss as soon as possible, and I definitely don't blame them for that, and simply didn't want to take the time to give the knight a hand. One thing is obvious, however, it probably wasn't because the Hollow Knight was ever truly hollow. The fact that they looked back at all is proof. They could have left the knight behind out of indifference towards them, but looking back demonstrated that they felt some curiosity about the situation. It is entirely possible that the Hollow Knight was pure or hollow when they hatched, and the thing that tarnished them was the relationship that they would later develop with their father, but something happened in their mind in that moment that made them stop and turn around to see what was going on. So to recap, the Hollow Knight most likely left the knight behind because the Pale King somehow communicated to them to do so and they did not want to disobey their father. They wanted to leave the abyss immediately. They saw the knight as just another vessel who wasn't strong enough to reach the top, which wasn't their problem, or a mix of all of these factors and possibly even more. As much as we may hate to admit it, we've probably all had a moment in our lives when we saw someone having a hard time and had the ability to offer help, but simply chose not to for an arbitrary reason. Since this small moment in Hollow Knight's story is so memorable, maybe it can help us remember that it's always best to be kind to others who could use it, because you never know what someone may be going through. So what do you think? Why do you believe the Hollow Knight turned back to look at the knight yet still left them behind? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. Please consider checking out my other Hollow Knight videos and sharing them with someone else so that they can too. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.